奴はもう一度我々のために戦ってくれる。
So earlier this year, I reviewed my first ever SH Monstroids figure in their 70th anniversary 1954 Godzilla, and it was okay. On paper, everything there is great, with smart engineering and nice accessories, but in practice, the poor tolerances, a lack of thought on how you would use the accessories, and a truly ridiculous price tag made it really hard to recommend to anyone who wasn't a hardcore Godzilla fan. It also didn't help that there are other companies making Godzilla figures at much better prices, which of course brings us to today's figure. The hiyatoys Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah, well, King Ghidorah. You know, I thought their Godzilla would have been what I reviewed first, but hey, King Ghidorah arrived first, so here we are. This guy is coming in at a steal of a price compared to what Bandai is offering, but a better price point doesn't automatically mean a better figure. So let's take a look at our big friend here and see how good Hiya's output really is. Man, where do I even start here? This is one of those figures that can be difficult to talk about, because really what you're seeing kinda speaks for itself. This figure's sculpt and paint are exemplary. There are no paint chips, nothing misaligned from the sculpt as far as I can see, just the kind of fine paintwork you'd hope to see at this price point, and in a brilliant gold to boot. And of course it works as well as it does thanks to just how good the sculpt is. This guy is pretty much one-to-one with Ghidorah's Heisei era design, from the scales, the various horns and spikes, and of course the massive wings. I do not envy the person who had to sculpt in all of those scales, but I will praise them for a job well done. Those spikes, by the way, are sharp, and the figure is also fairly heavy, so do keep that in mind when handling this guy. If I had to find anything to criticize about the looks, it would be this sort of film that appears on the wings. Not sure what this is exactly, but it does seem to be removable and isn't really noticeable under normal lighting, so I don't find it to be a big deal. Oh, but wait, I can't move on from the sculpt yet without talking about the heads. These are amazing, so aggressive and menacing with those piercing red eyes. They even have a hinge at the jaw and the tongue, so hey, if you enjoy your figures having a bit of tongue action, no, not like that, then rejoice because it's here and it works like a charm. Getting into the rest of the articulation, the problem the Monstroids Godzilla faced was poor tolerances. The articulation scheme was good, but the joints were either too tight or would just pop right off. By comparison, the tolerances on Ghidorah are nice and solid. The only one that's loose is one of the tails, and honestly that's barely a problem given it's not a load-bearing joint. The rest of the articulation is pretty much what you'd expect if you've seen or handled one of Bandai's Ghidorahs. Crazy dynamic poses aren't going to be this figure's forte, but even so, you'll still be able to get some nice poses out of them. Okay, so we're 2 for 2 on looks and articulation with Ghidorah, so how are the accessories? There are no accessories! Okay, I can tolerate not having a display stand. That doesn't mean I'm happy about it, but it isn't the end of the world. However, why in the world is there no beam effects? Why are these companies so afraid to give these kaiju beam effects? Is it just to package them in other releases? Are you just trying to get us to double dip on figures we've already bought? Ugh, I hate that. That's so corporate and slimy. This figure may not be as obnoxiously priced as the SH Monstroids is, but it certainly isn't cheap, and not having any accessories at this price just doesn't feel acceptable to me. I suppose, if nothing else, it is better to have a great figure with no accessories than a somewhat underwhelming figure with decent accessories. But even so, after the 1-2 punch of great looks and articulation, having no accessories for this guy is just supremely disappointing. He may not be the tallest figure we've covered, but coming in at 33 centimeters to the top of his wings, Ghidorah is pretty damn big. Once again, I do wish he was just a little bigger to better scale with high-grade Gundams, but that's obviously not a big deal. As it stands, he'll naturally scale just fine with other hiyatoys Godzilla stuff, and if you have any SH Monstroids figures, he'll work just fine with them as well. Similarly to the 54 Godzilla I talked about previously, I think the biggest problem I have with recommending Ghidorah comes down to the price. As a figure, on his own, he is absolutely fantastic. But the combination of the price point of $150 Canadian and the lack of accessories really makes it a lot harder to just say, go get it, it's great. The best I can put it is that if you're already getting Godzilla figures from Hiya or Bandai, then he's definitely worth picking up. If you're just starting out though, proceed with a bit of caution. This figure is good, don't get me wrong, but given how these companies work, there's a strong possibility of a re-release with accessories, so keep that in mind moving forward. But with all that being said, we're at the end of the video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Later.